The bar at the Four Seasons was bathed in a warm glow, a soothing contrast to the crisp autumn evening outside. I'd just wrapped up a successful negotiation for my client, Tom, who had been teetering on the edge of disaster with his money laundering case. It felt like a hollow victory. I took a sip of my scotch, savoring the smoky flavor, but the taste of corporate success was bittersweet. As I surveyed the room, I noticed the familiar hustle of Manhattan life, businessmen engaged in urgent conversations, couples leaning close in intimate whispers, and a group of young professionals celebrating a recent achievement with laughter. It was all so predictable. That's when she entered. Sarah. She was radiant, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders, and her tailored blazer accentuated her confident demeanor. We'd shared pleasantries in the elevator and exchanged knowing glances at neighborhood gatherings, but tonight, something felt different. David, she called, her voice cutting through the ambient noise as she approached. Fancy seeing you here, Sarah, I replied, surprised at how easily her name rolled off my tongue. Just unwinding after a long day. What about you? I was just meeting a client, she said, a playful smile tugging at her lips. Now, I think I deserve a drink. Mind if I join you? Not at all, I replied, motioning to the empty seat beside me. As she settled in, the air around us seemed to crackle with an unspoken tension. Congratulations on the deal, she said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. I heard about it from Mike, thanks. It was a tough one. You know how it is, clients can be more trouble than they're worth sometimes. I chuckled, but my mind wandered back to Tom's shady dealings. Believe me, I do, Sarah replied, tilting her head slightly. But you make it look easy. How do you do it? I leaned in, the smell of her perfume intoxicating. I just try to stay one step ahead. But tonight? I think I'll just enjoy the moment. Her smile widened. That's the spirit. Here's to moments. She raised her glass, and I clinked mine against hers, feeling a jolt of energy pass between us. We exchanged stories, our conversation flowing effortlessly from work to personal lives. I found myself drawn to her intelligence and humor. So, what do you do for fun when you're not saving the world one client at a time? I asked, genuinely curious. I like to explore the city, she replied, her eyes lighting up. There's always something new to discover. And I love food, trying new restaurants, experimenting with recipes at home. How about you? I used to love hitting the galleries and museums, but lately, it feels like there's not enough time. Maybe I need to take a page from your book and explore a little more, I said, trying to ignore the subtle pang of regret in my chest. Why not start tonight? Sarah suggested, her tone playful yet inviting. I know a great little Italian place nearby. They have the best risotto. What do you say? I hesitated, knowing I should probably go home, but the prospect of spending more time with her was too tempting to resist. Sure, why not? I said, feeling a thrill at the spontaneity of it all. As we walked out into the cool Manhattan evening, our shoulders brushed against each other, and a spark of electricity jolted through me. I glanced sideways at Sarah, her expression a mix of excitement and something deeper, something that stirred feelings I hadn't allowed myself to consider in a long time. What are you thinking about? She asked, breaking the moment of silence. I was just thinking how easy it is to connect with you, I admitted, my voice low. It feels refreshing. She looked up at me, her expression serious for a moment. I feel it too. It's rare to meet someone who gets it. Someone who understands the weight of this world we're in. I nodded, the air thick with unspoken words. Yeah, it is. As we strolled side by side, I couldn't shake the feeling that this night was a turning point, a moment that would change everything. But in that moment, under the twinkling city lights, I pushed aside the weight of my reality and allowed myself to enjoy the thrill of the unknown. The next morning came too quickly, the sunlight filtering through the hotel room curtains, illuminating the remnants of last night's impulsiveness. I blinked awake to find Sarah still asleep beside me, her features softened in slumber. It was surreal to think that just hours earlier, we had crossed a line that neither of us could erase. I swung my legs over the edge of the bed, my head swimming with a mix of euphoria and dread. I had always considered myself a man of principles, yet here I was, a betrayer. My phone buzzed insistently on the nightstand, jolting me back to reality. I grabbed it, expecting a text from Emily, but it was just a notification. A wave of guilt washed over me as I realized how easily I had slipped into this secret life. I tiptoed out of the room, trying not to disturb Sarah. As I stepped into the bathroom, I splashed cold water on my face, desperately trying to shake off the remnants of last night. The reflection staring back at me looked disheveled, tired, and burdened with choices I hadn't anticipated. I took a deep breath, attempting to steady myself before heading back into the main room. Sarah was sitting up now, her hair tousled, a playful smile creeping across her face as our eyes met. "Morning, stranger," she said, her voice still thick with sleep. "What time is it?" I glanced at my watch, the shock of reality setting in as I saw the time. "It's nearly 10. I should probably stay," she interrupted, swinging her legs over the side of the bed. "Let's just enjoy this moment. We can deal with the rest later." I hesitated, torn between the desire to bask in this stolen happiness and the looming weight of my responsibilities back home. "I can't just ignore everything." "Emily, don't," she cut in sharply, her tone shifting. "Let's not talk about them right now. Just us, okay?" Her eyes held a fierce intensity, and I felt myself drawn in. "Okay," I conceded, a half-smile breaking through my apprehension. We spent the morning in a haze of laughter and intimacy, sharing stories about our lives and dreams. I found it surprisingly easy to let my guard down with her. "Did you always want to be a lawyer?" she asked, her fingers brushing against mine as we sat on the edge of the bed. "Honestly? No. I wanted to be a musician," I confessed, a chuckle escaping me. "But my parents had other plans. They insisted I go into law. The stable choice, they said." Sarah laughed, a melodic sound that sent warmth through me. "I can see you on stage, though, playing guitar, captivating the audience. What happened to that dream?" I shrugged, the weight of my choices pressing down again. "Life happened. I got caught up in the grind, you know. But I still play sometimes, mostly alone, in my apartment. It's therapeutic. I'd love to hear you play sometime," she said, her eyes sparkling with intrigue. "Maybe I'll come over and bring some wine. It could be our little secret." The suggestion sent a thrill through me, but a pang of guilt shot through me too. "Maybe," I said, avoiding her gaze. "But we have to be careful." "Careful is boring," she replied, a smirk on her lips. "Life is too short to always play it safe." And just like that, I was drawn back into the vortex of emotions I had been trying to escape. We spent the rest of the morning wrapped in each other's arms, the world outside fading away. But as the hours passed, the reality of our lives loomed larger, threatening to crash down around us. By the time I finally left the hotel, my heart raced with exhilaration but also a gnawing sense of dread. I had crossed a line, and there was no going back. Later that evening, I returned home, the familiar sounds of our apartment enveloping me. Emily was in the kitchen, her back turned as she prepared dinner. The smell of garlic and rosemary wafted through the air, a comforting aroma that made my stomach twist. "Hey, you," she called over her shoulder without turning around. "How was your day?" "Busy." "Productive," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. "Good. We need to talk," she said, finally facing me. The look on her face told me this wasn't just about dinner plans. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the last 24 hours heavy on my shoulders. "Sure. What's up?" Emily crossed her arms, her expression shifting to concern. "You've been distant lately. Is there something going on?" I hesitated, knowing I had to tread carefully. "Just work stress. You know how it is." She studied me for a moment, her gaze piercing. "David, if there's something you need to tell me, I'd rather hear it now than later." The urge to confess bubbled up within me, but I pushed it down. It's nothing I can't handle. I promise. Okay, she said slowly, her voice still tinged with worry. But if there's ever anything you want to share, you know I'm here, right? Of course, I said, forcing a smile. Just, give me some time. As I made my way to the bedroom, I felt the weight of my choices pressed down harder than ever. I couldn't keep lying to Emily, and I knew that sooner or later, the truth would come crashing down, but for now, I was caught in a whirlwind of desire and fear, walking a tightrope between two worlds that couldn't coexist. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the image of Sarah from my mind. I replayed our conversations, the way her laughter echoed in my ears. The connection we shared felt electric, yet it also carried the burden of impending heartbreak. I was teetering on the edge of something dangerous, and part of me was exhilarated, while the other part screamed for me to stop. But I was already too deep, lost in the allure of the affair that had just begun. The days turned into weeks, and what had started as a flirtation with Sarah quickly escalated into something all-consuming. Each stolen moment became a thrill, a dangerous secret that filled a void I hadn't realized was there. We would meet in the shadows of our busy lives, often late at night in dimly lit bars or the secluded corners of restaurants, indulging in laughter and the intoxicating thrill of our affair. But as the illicit excitement grew, so did the anxiety festering beneath the surface. One evening, I found myself sitting across from Sarah at a small table in a cozy Italian restaurant. Candles flickered between us, casting shadows that danced in the soft light. I watched her as she laughed at a story I had told, and for a moment, everything felt perfect. "David, I never thought I could connect with someone like this," she said, her eyes sparkling. "It's like we're in our own little world." I smiled, but beneath my calm facade, a storm brewed. "I feel it too, Sarah, but we have to be careful. This, whatever it is, it's complicated." "Complicated?" she echoed, her expression shifting slightly. "We both know what we want. Why complicate it with rules?" "Because there are people involved," I insisted, the weight of guilt pressing on my chest. "Emily doesn't deserve this." "And what about Mike? He's a good guy." Her brow furrowed as she leaned closer. "But what about us? Don't you want to be happy? This feels real, David. Are you really willing to throw it all away?" The tension hung heavy in the air. I felt the pull of my desires battling against the guilt that clawed at me. "It's not that simple. I'm married, and you're married. We need to figure this out." "Figure what out?" she challenged. "What are we waiting for? To just keep meeting like this forever? What's the endgame here?" I took a deep breath, my resolve wavering. "I don't know, Sarah. Maybe we need to talk about what happens next." Before Sarah could respond, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I fished it out, and my heart sank as I saw Emily's name flash on the screen. "I need to take this," I said, standing up abruptly. "David, wait." Sarah's voice trailed off as I stepped outside, my mind racing. "Hey, Emily," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Where are you?" she asked, her tone laced with worry. "I've been trying to reach you. Can you come home?" "Yeah, I'm on my way," I replied, panic rising in my throat. I stepped back inside to find Sarah watching me, her expression unreadable. "What happened?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I have to go. Emily needs me," I said, guilt churning in my stomach. "David, you can't keep running away from this," she insisted, frustration creeping into her voice. "I'm not running away. I need to sort things out," I stammered, backing away. As I left, I could feel Sarah's gaze on me, heavy with disappointment. The walk back home felt like a lifetime, my thoughts spiraling. I replayed our conversation, the moment of clarity that had eluded me, and the weight of my choices settled deeper in my bones. When I arrived home, Emily was waiting in the living room, her face pale and drawn. "David, we need to talk. It's important." "Okay, what's going on?" I asked, bracing myself for the worst. She gestured for me to sit, her eyes searching mine. I've been feeling like something's off between us. And I've noticed you've been distant, especially lately. Are you seeing someone? The question hit me like a punch to the gut. My heart raced as I tried to find my voice. Emily, just tell me the truth, David, she pressed, her eyes narrowing. I can handle it. I looked down at my hands, the guilt consuming me. I'm not seeing anyone, but I've been feeling lost. Things have changed between us, and I haven't been honest with you. She inhaled sharply, tears welling in her eyes. You're lying. I can feel it. And if you're not seeing someone, then why do you feel so different? Because I care about you, Emily, I pleaded, my voice cracking. I'm just trying to figure things out. Emily stood up, pacing the room, frustration and hurt written all over her face. You know what's worse than an affair? The lies that come with it. If you're hiding something from me, I need to know now. Taking a deep breath, I decided to tell her the truth, everything. I've been seeing someone. It started as a friendship, but it became more. Her name is Sarah. Emily froze, shock flooding her features. Sarah? From the firm? I nodded, shame washing over me. I never intended for this to happen. It just did. David, how could you? She whispered, hurt twisting her voice. You told me you were unhappy, but I didn't think you'd go this far. I thought we could fix this together. I know, and I'm sorry, I said, my voice filled with desperation. But it's not just you. I've been struggling for a long time. Struggling? She scoffed, anger flaring. You think it's easy for me? I've noticed the distance between us. I felt it, David, and you chose to betray me instead of talking to me. I never meant to hurt you, I said, the weight of my decisions crashing down on me. I thought I was escaping the monotony, but now I'm just trapped in this mess. Emily's face hardened, her sadness morphing into resolve. You need to make a choice. If you want to be with Sarah, then just say it. But I won't be the one to keep you here if your heart is elsewhere. Emily, please, I don't want to lose you, I said, desperation creeping into my voice. Then stop lying to me. Tell me what you want, she replied, her tone unyielding. We stood in silence, the air thick with unresolved emotions. The weight of my choices pressed down on us, and I realized that the fallout from my affair was just beginning. A few days later, I met with Sarah to discuss what had transpired. We met at our usual spot, but the mood was different this time, tense and charged with uncertainty. David, what's going on? Sarah asked, her brow furrowing as she took a sip of her wine. Emily knows about us, I admitted, my stomach churning. I told her everything. She deserves that much, at least. Her expression shifted from confusion to anger. And what did you expect would happen? You just threw away everything we built for this? It's not just about you and me, I said, frustration bubbling to the surface. I can't just walk away from my marriage without considering the consequences. Consequences? David, this was supposed to be our chance to find happiness together, she shot back, her voice rising. You're not even fighting for it. I can't just abandon everything, I replied, my voice low but firm. I'm still figuring out what I want. Figure it out quickly, she snapped, standing up abruptly. Because I'm not going to be the second choice. I deserve more than that. Sarah, wait, I pleaded, but she was already walking away, leaving me alone with the weight of my decisions and the realization that the fallout of my choices had only just begun. The next few weeks felt like a blur of chaos. My life unraveled, and I found myself caught in the aftermath of decisions that echoed through every facet of my existence. Emily and I barely spoke, the tension in our home palpable. Our conversations were reduced to logistics, who would take care of what, when the kids would be picked up, and the occasional awkward exchange that felt more like business than a marriage. In the midst of the turmoil, Sarah's absence weighed heavily on me. I missed her laughter, her spontaneity, and the electric connection we had shared. But I knew I had made choices that led me here, and I had to face the consequences of my actions. One night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling of regret that clung to me. I reached for my phone and typed out a message to Sarah, my heart racing. "I'm sorry. Can we talk?" I hit send, but as the message disappeared into the void, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had lost something precious, perhaps irrevocably. The fallout had begun, and it was only a matter of time before it consumed everything I held dear. The skyline of Manhattan was a familiar silhouette against the sunset as I stood by my apartment window, a glass of bourbon in hand. The city felt vibrant, alive, yet my mind drifted back to moments from years ago, when everything had felt different. Emily and I had parted ways not long after the fallout. We had both moved on. She had found a new job and a new relationship, while I buried myself in work, pouring every ounce of my energy into building my career. The echoes of our past still haunted me, lingering in the quiet moments of the day. "David?" My daughter, Lily, called out, breaking my reverie. She was now a teenager, full of life and ideas. "Can we talk about my project for school?" "Sure, sweetheart," I replied, turning away from the view. I could see the concern in her eyes as she stepped into the living room. "What's on your mind?" "I need to choose a topic for my history project. I was thinking about the impact of the 2008 financial crisis." "It's interesting, right?" I smiled, proud of her initiative. "Absolutely. It's a pivotal moment in our economic history. You could focus on how it affected families and businesses. That would give it a personal touch." "Great idea," she said, her enthusiasm infectious. As we discussed her project, I noticed the small reminders of my past creeping in, little moments that sparked memories of Emily. "Dad, you okay?" Lily asked, noticing my distant expression. "Yeah, just thinking," I said, forcing a smile. "You remind me of your mother sometimes. She always had a way of tackling difficult subjects head-on. Is that a good thing?" Lily asked, her brow furrowing. "You still think about her?" I hesitated, unsure how to navigate the conversation. "Your mom and I had our differences, but we both care about you. That's what matters most." "Do you ever regret it?" she asked quietly. "Regret is a tricky word," I replied, leaning back. "I made choices that led me here. Some were good, some were not. I think it's important to learn from them." Lily nodded, her eyes thoughtful. "I hope I can learn from your mistakes. I don't want to hurt anyone." "You won't. Just remember to communicate. It's crucial in any relationship," I advised, my mind wandering back to Sarah and the decisions that had led to our estrangement. As the evening wore on, the memories continued to surface uninvited. I picked up my phone, scrolling through old messages and photos. There were pictures of happier times with Emily, the laughter, the vacations, the children, but also the pain, the betrayal, and the heartache that ultimately defined us. I decided to reach out to Emily. After years of silence, I felt compelled to reconnect. "Hey, Emily. It's been a while. How have you been?" I hit send, anxiety gripping me. Would she respond? Did she still carry the weight of our past, or had she moved on entirely? The reply came faster than I expected. "David, I'm doing well. Busy with work and the kids. How about you?" "Same here. Just reflecting on old times. Thought I'd check in." Old times can be bittersweet. It's important to remember both the good and the bad. I could sense the guardedness in her words. "Yeah, I get that. I wanted to talk, maybe grab coffee sometime." "Sure. It might be good to catch up." A wave of relief washed over me. We agreed to meet the following week, and as I put down my phone, a mix of excitement and dread settled in. Would we address the past, or would we simply share updates about our lives and kids? When the day arrived, I felt a nervous energy coursing through me. I arrived at the cafe early, ordering a coffee and a pastry, my mind racing with what to say. Emily walked in, looking effortlessly beautiful, her demeanor calm yet cautious. "David," she said, a soft smile gracing her lips. "Emily," I replied, standing to greet her. We exchanged awkward hugs before settling into our seats. "How are the kids?" she asked, stirring her coffee. "They're great. Lily's growing up fast, and Max is full of energy." "They keep me on my toes," I said, forcing a smile. "What about you?" "Busy, as usual. The firm has been demanding, but I'm managing. Sophia is starting high school, and Jake is in middle school." "They both keep me busy," she replied, a hint of pride in her voice. We spoke about our children for a while, sharing milestones and anecdotes. But the conversation soon shifted to the elephant in the room. "David, do you ever think about what happened between us?" she asked, her eyes searching mine. "I do. It's hard not to," I admitted, feeling the weight of our shared history. "I've had time to reflect, and I regret how things ended." "I regret it too. I never wanted to hurt you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But we both made choices that changed everything." "Yeah, we did," I replied, my heart heavy. I was so consumed with my own guilt and shame that I didn't think about how my actions affected you. Emily nodded, her expression pensive. "It was a hard time for both of us. We were trying to find happiness in all the wrong places. I wish we could have handled it differently," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "But I also learned a lot from that experience. I've tried to be a better father and person." "Me too," she replied, a glimmer of understanding passing between us. "It's taken me a long time to forgive myself." As we continued to talk, the conversation flowed more easily, like a dam breaking free. We shared stories, laughed at old memories, and even touched on the awkward moments that had defined our relationship. It felt almost therapeutic, and I could sense the tension between us easing. "Do you think we could ever be friends?" Emily asked, a hint of vulnerability in her voice. "I hope so. I think we owe it to ourselves and the kids," I replied, feeling a sense of hope emerging. "We've been through so much. Maybe we can help each other move forward." "Yeah," she said, her smile returning. "I'd like that." As we left the cafe, the sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the city. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of closure and a glimmer of possibility for the future. The pain of the past would always linger, but maybe we could both find a way to navigate it and emerge stronger. Standing on the busy street, I watched as she walked away, a sense of peace settling in my heart. I knew our lives would never be the same, but perhaps they could still be good, filled with lessons learned, respect, and a newfound understanding. And for that, I was grateful.